so we can share it with everybody. Hi, my name is Colleen McCarter, and I am a nutritionist with the company Sustainwell. And I've been in business for over 30 years, helping inspire women and men to live healthy and eat clean. And I'm so excited to be offering this Formula to Freedom class with Myleta Butler, who is a former 300-pound New Yorker, who is the CEO and founder of My Leggins Swimwear and Company. She is the wife and mother who has struggled with her weight since she was 19 years old, and was the main reason behind why she wanted to design swimwear that made her feel confident. At her heaviest weight, she tipped the scales at 304 pounds. Wow, that's amazing. After a health scare and a much needed wake up call, she was able to lose over 160 pounds and take back control of her health. And I think that's what the conversation is going to be about today, is taking back your health. And we don't want to have a scare. We want to be able to jump into living a healthy lifestyle. So my latest goal, besides designing that swimwear, is to empower women to love their curves at any size, is to continue inspiring others who may be struggling on their weight loss journey through her weight loss book. She currently is writing through her YouTube channel, which is awesome. Myleta lives in Tampa, Florida with her husband and son and their two Doberman Pinscher puppies. So I'm so excited to share Myleta with you so we can embrace and love ourselves and embrace our curves. So Myleta, let's talk a little bit about and be candid about, tell me your journey and how you lost all that weight. What was the secret?
Okay, so I'll start with how the health scare actually started. And thanks so much, Colleen, for having me. I'm excited to be able to share certain tips and tools that I used in getting started. So what happened to me, and as you say, I'll be very candid, I was sitting in my doctor's office. At the time, I was tipping the scale over 300 pounds. I had high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and I also was pre-diabetic. He had told me that at that particular visit, and I remember thinking, this can't be happening. And even though, of course, I knew I was heavy, I had felt the weight, my knees hurt, my back hurt, like I could feel the 300 plus pounds definitely in my day-to-day activities, but I was in denial about it. I just, didn't even know where to start if I were to start taking the weight off. But when he said those words, that got my attention. But the other thing that he said that really stuck with me is he said, you can only be one of the two O's. And I thought, what does that mean? And he said, either you can be obese or you can be old, but you can't be both. And when he said that, I thought about it and I said, I knew quite a few elderly people and none of them were obese. And I thought, I want to be around definitely for a long time, but if I'm continue down this path, it's not going to happen. And so I remember driving home after leaving the office and I was crying in the car, upset with myself, feeling shame and feeling guilt that I had let myself get to that point. And I think the shame part is, and the guilt part is more so I let myself gain all this weight, right? Like I let myself get to this size. And then the guilt part was, and the shame part was I became that. Like I was obese. I was, person with high blood pressure and high cholesterol that would be looked at as unhealthy. And I'd be lying if I say I did not stop off at a fast food restaurant on the way home, because I did. Right. And I ordered my normal, 2 supersized combo meals with the fries and of course the 2 soft drinks. And I went home and I ate them. And later that night I took a shower and I cried in the shower that night. I mean, like literally had a full blown, all out, just weeping cry. And when I got out the shower, I remember thinking, I have to do something. And I actually wrote myself a letter that night. And I said that I would decide to fight for her. And I actually shared the letter in my weight loss book of how I had to sit down and get real with myself and decide to fight for my health. And the first thing that I knew I needed to do was I knew I needed to get control of my eating. Now, the reason I knew I needed to control my eating is because I knew that I was taking in a lot of calories in order to be 300 plus pounds. And when I sat down and wrote down what I was taking in each day on a typical day, I was taking in 7,000 to 8,000 3,000 calories. And someone might say, well, how do you do that? Especially, you know, most people are taking anywhere between maybe 2,000, 2,500 max based on their weight. And I was taking in 7,000 to 8,000 very easily. And I'm just going to give you a brief kind of an average day for me of what that eating would look like and how easily we can take in that many calories and not be aware of it. So a typical breakfast for me would be like pancakes and sausage and eggs. You know, I'd have like a frappe or some type of latte and an orange juice. Well, that meal alone is 1,910 calories and 82 fat grams. Boom, I'm already blowing my budget first thing in the morning. Lunch would be like a double cheeseburger with like mayo, ketchup. I would have a large fry, of course, a Coke, dessert, and that's 2,010 calories. So 2,010 calories and 119 fat grams in that meal. Now get ready for the dinner that I would typically have. So I love one particular Italian restaurant. I'm not going to say the name, but if I went there, then of course I would order like a large Alfredo sauce. I would eat at least 5 to 6 breadsticks, and each breadstick, just so you know, is 125 calories and 15 fat grams. So just think I'm having 5 or 6. I'd have a soup, and then I'd order like a chicken and shrimp pasta meal. Well, that meal would be 3,910 calories. So not even including my snacks, of course, you know, that handful of M&Ms on the way back to my desk at work, or that little bag of chips on the way home. So for the day, that's 8,400 calories and over 600 fat grams that I was taking in. Out of control. So I knew enough that I needed to get control of that. And the thing was, which I had to learn when I start writing down, is food labels. Like most people don't understand why it's so important to look at the nutrition label on the back of foods. And every single food that we purchase, or even if you go to a restaurant, you can request a nutritional fact sheet so that you can find out like how many calories and fat grams you're taking in. And that's so important. And I'll actually share with you my formula that I use in a little bit, but the key for me was getting control of the food. I was taking in 7,000 to 8,000 calories a day. Definitely did not need that many calories. And the second piece of what I had to do was I knew I needed to get moving, right? Like I knew they always say we have to take in less calories and get moving more to be able to get the weight off. And at 304 pounds, I was too embarrassed to go to the gym. Like I just couldn't even wrap my brain around going to the gym at that size. So instead, I danced in my living room for 30 minutes, 5 days a week, cut my calories down, cut drinking sodas and drink water instead. And in the first 2 months doing that, I lost 32 pounds. So I knew I was on a good path, but again, I still wasn't comfortable going to the gym quite yet until I got down a little bit more. But dancing was great for me. I love to dance, and I figured if I could do something I like and take the weight off, then that was a win-win for me. So that was kind of like what happened initially to get me to wake up. And then the other big part was the letter that I wrote to myself. And this is why I always refer back to embracing your beauty and loving your curves and why that's so important. I had to look in the mirror at myself at 304 pounds, and I saw myself different for the first time, meaning I felt like I had lost myself in the weight. Like I didn't even know who I was anymore. And to the point of where I stopped showing up for life. Like I would cancel going out with friends or family just because I just felt so embarrassed and mad with myself for being that heavy. And just stopped going to events because I just felt uncomfortable that size. And I knew that I wasn't mad at myself for, you know, seeing the cellulite and the rolls and all that I saw in the mirror, as much as it was, I was just disappointed in myself. But that night when I wrote that letter to myself, I said, I have to love myself even at this size in order to do something about it. So I had to embrace who I was, own that, and say that I was more than the scale, the number that was looking at me back at the scale, and that I had to love myself enough then in order for me to want to walk towards being healthy.
So Mylea, let me ask you, and I'm sure some of the people on here want to know, how did you like look at yourself in the mirror, and how did you not feel shame and guilt, and how'd you push past that to do what you needed to do?
I think what I did, like I said, of course I looked in the mirror other nights, but that particular night when I stood there after getting out the shower crying and deciding that I wanted to fight for her, it was saying that, you know what, like, I'm more than what's staring back at me, right? Like, I think we miss out on the part of what makes us so beautiful, meaning it's our character, right? Like, it's how we treat people, how, you know, we are as a person. And I knew I was a good person inside, but I had lost her and I wanted to find her again. And I knew she was inside of there. I knew she was, you know, in all those 304 pounds.
Right.
But you know what? And another thing that I had started to do, and I said, you know, I realized that we feel how we dress, right? Like my grandmother used to always say, dress how you want to be addressed. And when I started, you know, slipping deeper down into feeling depressed, carrying the weight, I realized I wasn't getting up in the morning and putting on my makeup. And I wasn't getting all dressed up like I was before. Like, I began to feel how I felt, and instead of dressing how I wanted to feel. And so, you know, that night I decided the next day, and I say this in my letter in the book, I told her, listen, tomorrow morning, you're going to get up, you're going to fix your hair, you're going to put your makeup on, you're going to put that outfit on that makes you feel good. And you're going to start walking around and loving her because she loves you. And so I think it's just having that conversation with ourselves that we have to let go of the guilt, right? Like, we have to let go of the shame, because that's like bondage to us. Like, it literally holds us down. And for me, I felt like I was suffocating, and I didn't want to feel that way anymore. And I just did not want to feel that way anymore. And I just kept replaying the doctor's words in my head. And this is why I tell people, don't wait till you get the scare like I got, like, before you want to do something. Like, if you know that you're carrying an excess amount of weight, and maybe you're not obese, maybe you're carrying 40, 50 pounds, but you're feeling that weight, right? Like, you don't want to wait to that 40, 50 pounds like me, you know, 40, 50 pounds went to 70 pounds, and then 70 pounds went to 100 pounds, and so on and so forth. And, you know, I entered the 200-pound club, and then I was in the 300-pound club. And had I not done anything, as my doctor told me, I would have been in the 400-pound club easily, right, the way that I was eating. And so I think a lot of times when we look in the mirror, back to your question, I think we have to look past that. It's like all the imperfections, as we saw. Like, I stopped looking at my flaws as flaws, and I said, you know what, they're me. Like, this is me. I have to love all of it. But I also knew that I was picturing myself in the distance being healthy. And to me, that felt good. Like, that looked good to me in the back of my mind, because that meant not being full-blown diabetic and having to take insulin shot or medication. And it meant that I could stop maybe taking my high blood pressure and my high cholesterol medication. And that was a good feeling too. Did not want to be on living out of, you know, a pill purse for the rest of my life, or even worse, you know, if I was diabetic and had to have toes amputated or foot amputated, or like a friend of mine who had to have their leg amputated. And I just didn't want that for myself.
So walk us through, you know, you got the why, you got the, you know, starting to love yourself. Now, what are the steps that, you know, everyone needs to maybe start taking to embrace and love themselves, to start making some significant changes in their health?
Okay. Number one, I would say that everyone has to make it up in their mind, right? Like, I think sometimes, especially, and I'm speaking to my like professional dieters, as I call myself, you know, my water fasting dieters, I've tried every diet known to me, and who just do not know how to get started again, right? Like, that's like, what do? Do I throw out everything in my refrigerator? Do I just like eat salads all day, right? Like, that's what most of us think. Like, we're just frustrated, like, tried every diet. And so to me, I have a saying, we can't be what we can't see, right? So I really encourage everyone, if they're really serious this time, let's make this time different. I don't care if this is the second time, the 52nd time, or 102nd time, right? Let's make this time different by creating a weight loss vision board. That's step number one. Like, write that down, create a weight loss vision board. Again, we cannot be what we can't see. So if we don't see ourselves at the finish line already, like cutting out, you know, out of magazines, little clippings, and you don't have to be super creative in order to do this. Like, you literally can get some magazines or some newspaper and cut out key words that make you feel good, positive words. You can take a picture of yourself, not necessarily at your ideal size, but it can be a picture of you when you were happy, right? Like, when you feeling good, right? Like, just things that make you feel good, that you can refer back to that on the days that it's going to get hard, because it is going to get hard. But like my doctor told me, choose your hard, right? Like, because being obese for me was hard. My back hurt, my knees hurt. Like I was having, you know, I had a rash, you know, that was out of control because as my doctor said, I had so many folds and, you know, bacteria likes moisture and heat, right? So
Yeah.
you got to choose your hard, right? So for
Okay.
me, I wanted to choose the hard of losing the weight versus the hard of dealing with being obese, because I knew where that was going to head me into a direction that was not going to be good for me long term. So number one, create the weight loss vision board. Number two is, I always say, decide on your diet philosophy, right? So like if I know that maybe I tried keto in the past, or I kind of did like a semi-vegan diet, or I just did low calorie, or maybe sugar, like what's your eating plan going to be? You got to decide that, because then you need to do your homework on that. So if you're going to go keto, what's keto look like? Like, what do I do in the first week of keto? What can I eat? What can I not eat? So write down what your diet philosophy is going to be. That's number two. So important, has to be done, because again, we can't be what we can't see. If we have no plan, then we're basically planning to fail.
Yeah.
The next one is, and this is, I'm a big advocate, and I know you are as well, Colleen, about you got to get moving. Like, yes, do people lose weight just changing their diet? Absolutely. Weight can come off. You would create a calorie deficit, right, with any single diet that you could follow. However, for long-term health, especially like increasing our cardiovascular, that you got to pick your get moving plan. Like, what's your get moving plan going to be? Are you going to dance in your living room like I did, you know, because you don't want to go to a gym? Or do you like swimming, bike riding, boxing? I mean, you have to figure out what's your get moving plan. And newsflash, to lose weight, working out at least 5 days a week is ideal for you for 30 minutes if you're just starting out. I hear people say, well, I work out 3 days a week. And I say 3 days a week is more for maintenance. And, you know, that's another subject, right? When you're talking about once you get to your ideal weight, what do you do? And I tell people, listen, how you attain it is how you're going to maintain it, right? So that's, you can't just all of a sudden stop exercising or eating well once you get to your ideal weight. But absolutely, you have to decide what your get moving plan is. Exercise and eating well should go hand in hand. The two work great together to give you the best results possible long term. That's key. That's the third one. And this is the big one. So I hope everybody's writing stuff down if they haven't already. This is the formula I follow. I've followed this formula since I first started to lose weight. I follow it even today if I need to adjust my numbers on the scale if I want to lose any more weight. And I'll tell you why I give you this formula as a basic example. The average size woman in a coma burns 700 to 800 calories at rest. Okay, that's just for her basic body function, her lungs to function, her heart to function, her brain function, right? So there's a certain amount of calories that we should take in each day just for us to sustain the weight that we currently are. The formula that I use when I'm losing is for every 1 pound that I am, I take in between 8 to 10 calories max per pound. That's the first number, because there's only two numbers I follow. I follow the calories and I follow the fat grams in order when it comes to losing weight. So again, it's 8 to 10 calories max per pound. And the reason I say 8 to 10 is 8 would be for the person who says, you know what, I can't commit to working out 5 days, but I'll start out maybe 3 to 4 days. Then you do eight calories per pound of weight. The other person says, well, I can maybe do 4 days, and you do 9. But if you're going to commit to the actual 5 days or 5 to 6 days a week of working out, you can use that 10 number. So for the example, I'm going to use the 10 number. I'm going to say this person is ready to get back on the horse. They're going to go ahead and commit to working out 5 days, at least 30 minutes a week. And they're going to take in 10 calories per pound of weight. So we're going to say they're 200 pounds. So that person's budget could be actually between 1,800 to 2,000 calories max for their calories, right? So now we take that number and we need to get our fat grams, because the fat grams are so important. And again, I always like to refer back to the nutritional fact sheet. You'll see on there, it'll have the calories and it'll have the fat grams. And it'll say total fat, and that's the number you want. You want the total fat grams on there. So you take your number and you're going to divide that by 30 in order to get your fat grams for the day, right? So we take either 1,800 or 2,000 and we divide that by 30. So that's going to give us about 62 to 67 fat grams if we round up for our daily budget. that's your budget. Like, that's how you create a calorie deficit. People say calorie deficit. What's calorie deficit? Well, if you don't know your numbers, like me, taking in 7,000 to 8,000 calories back when I was over 300 pounds, you won't even understand how to be calorie deficit each day because you don't know what you're taking in. So if nothing else from this conversation, please get to know your numbers, because that's huge. If you don't know your numbers, how much you should be taking in each day in order to lose, the weight's not going to come off and you're going to get frustrated and you may just quit again. And we don't want that. We want this time to be different, right? We said we want this to be different. Know your numbers, understand the basis of reading food labels. 2 numbers are key: calories, fat grams. If you follow those and you spread your budget out through the day, right? Like having maybe anywhere between 4 to 6 mini meals, or if you're using intermittent fasting, which I also recommend with any diet you follow, is to use intermittent fasting as well, because by default, you'll take in less calories if you're eating healthy when you're breaking fast maybe even with a smoothie or something lighter initially in the morning, but definitely do that. Number 5 is be kind to your mind. That one's huge. I say be kind to your mind, be patient with yourself. Take it one day and 1 pound at a time is key. And the other big part is, and Colleen, you and I have talked about this, the importance of doing that daily strengthening of our minds, right? Like that's why I talk about being kind to our minds and waking up in the morning and going to sleep at night, and prior to going to sleep and first waking up in the morning, telling yourself daily affirmations, you know, giving yourself those praises, say something positive about yourself. And it amazes me how hard that is for a lot of people to say something positive about themselves, to even write down something positive of themselves. I do this activity when I was working with people and helping them to lose weight. What I would say, each day I want you to write down 3 positive things about yourself. And it was such a struggle, but really it is. It's just like us using our muscles and trying to retrain them. We have to retrain our mind to stop the daily self-sabotaging talk, right? Like that can just take us off of anything that we're doing. And I think that's probably the most frustrating for a lot of people. I can say for me, it was just the sense of me playing that voice in my head of, you know, you're so out of control, you're so overweight, you know, the association with being obese, you know, you're lazy, you're fat, you know, just all those different things. Or, you know, I can hear it in my head, you should feel ashamed, you know, even after a binge eating session, you know, to the point of where I became a closet eater. You know, I stopped eating around people as though they didn't know that I was eating at the size that I was, as though that weight came on another way. But it just, we can carry that, and it could be, it's like, sometimes I feel like I was in quicksand and I just didn't know how to get out. Like I just kept sinking deeper and deeper. I'd start a diet, I maybe lose a couple of pounds, and then life would happen, something would stress me out, and I'd bake a chocolate cake and it'd be all done. Like, you know, just be out the window. And then I'd start again, and then, you know, same thing, something would happen and I'd stop. But for me, and I can't speak for everybody else on this call, but for me, when that was happening, is because I didn't have a plan. Like I didn't have anything written down. I just say, okay, Monday came, I'll start eating better. And, you know, by Thursday, I'm done, right? Or sometimes I get to 2 weeks and I'm done. Like I'm tired of eating salad, or, you know, as what we think we're supposed to be eating, right? As though we don't know all the choices available because we don't understand our numbers. We don't understand food labels. We don't understand how to eat out successfully. You know, even when we're trying to lose weight, like all those things that can help make us successful is what we need to learn in order to lose the weight and be consistent with the long term. And I always like to say this too, and I think, Colleen, you and I had the conversation about this one time, about how weight loss is not a straight line. Like when someone says to me, like, I need to lose 50 pounds and I want to lose it like tomorrow and I'm going to follow keto. And the part of me says, okay, but do you know keto recipes? Or are you going to be cooking at home? You know, are you eating out? If so, what are you going to eat? Like, what's your plan? Because they may lose the first 20 pounds using keto, but guarantee the next 15 after that, they're going to have to do something different. And by that, meaning they're not adjusting their calories. Like when I gave the formula earlier about the 8 to 10 calories per pound of weight. Now, if I'm 200 pounds and I'm taking in 1,800 to 2,000 calories, but now I'm 100 and maybe 80 pounds, or I'm 175 pounds. Well, guess what? I don't still need that many calories, right? Because I have to adjust those numbers as I'm losing. And a lot of times people don't do that. They don't make the adjustments. Or if I lost the first 20 pounds or 25 pounds, you know, power walking 30 to 45 minutes, 5 days a week, and great, now I hit a plateau, right? So how do I get over that plateau? Well, that may mean that you need to add a little bit more, you know, time onto your exercise, or instead of fast pacing the entire time, maybe you jog for 1 minute and then stop and fast pace, or maybe you add, you know, 2 additional minutes fast pace. But it's just understanding that it's going to take multiple things and levels in order to get you to your goal, especially if you're trying to lose a lot of weight, like how I lost a lot of weight. You know, you're talking 100 plus pounds. That's a lot of weight to lose. And it was not a straight line, but I was very grateful that I understood the power of mixing diets together. And when I reached a certain plateau, I knew how to get over that by, as I said, adding maybe additional time to my workout, making sure that I was reevaluating how many calories I was taking in each day, where were my fat grams at, to know where I was going wrong and how to fix it.
So Myleta, give us, you know, you talked about, you know, the weight, if you're 200 pounds, to eat 1,800 to 2,000 calories to lose that. You've talked about a vision board. Talk a little bit for the next, I can't believe we've already been talking like 30 some minutes now, a little bit about, when you're going to try to make healthier choices, what are, the key steps to embracing a healthier lifestyle?
Okay, so the key with that, and I always refer back to food labels, because you have to know what you're putting in your body, right? Because there's always a healthier choice for something. Like, for instance, when it comes to colors is significant in nutrition, as you know. So the whites are going to be have a higher in fat versus the reds. And by that, we mean like the Alfredo sauce is going to be higher in fat versus the marinara sauce, right? So it may not be, again, I don't want everyone to think I have to just throw everything out my cabinets right now, just empty out my refrigerator. But it's just slowly introducing or doing those swaps each week to where you're adding the healthier snacks to your pantry. You're adding the healthier choices to your freezer, and you're doing that meal planning. So like, it's like me, aimlessly wandering in the grocery store hungry. That's the worst time to go without a list, right? Like people have to sit down and think, okay. And I think a lot of us know, like I said, I'm talking to my experienced dieters here. I'm not talking to my first time dieters per se, but I think for the most part, we know how we should be eating as far as eating more healthier choices. Like, we know it's better to bake something than fry it, right? Like, we know it's better, not to saute something in a whole bunch of oil versus maybe like in a broth or something like that. And so I think the person has to sit down and say to themselves, again, I'll tie back to what I say about the diet philosophy. If I'm going to follow vegan, what am I buying from the grocery store? Where's my grocery list? Like, how's that going to look for me? Or if I'm going to go meatless 2 days a week, I'm not going to fully commit to the total vegan diet, but I'd like to cut meat out my diet maybe twice a week. Well, what are you going to cook in place of meat, right? Because we know nutrients are so important. So if you cut something out, you want to make sure you're putting it back in so that we're not deficient anywhere with our, intake. So, my advice for someone who says, what do I do? Where do I start? You've got to decide what your eating is going to look like. And if you're somebody who doesn't cook at home, because statistically showing, they say if we eat out more than 3 times a week, we probably have a weight problem. So you've got to figure out if get a crock pot, right? Like, get one of those one pots. Like, if you're not a cooker, figure out quick recipes where you can throw it all in one, whether that's, skinless chicken breast and you throw some veggies in there and your seasonings, versus it being fried chicken, right? Like, of course, most people love fried chicken, but we know that fried is not better for us. So I think they have to sit down, think about what they like to eat and how to make a healthier choice with that. It's the same thing going out to eat. People can go out to any restaurant, even any fast food restaurant. And I actually have examples on my website of this, of showing you how you can go to any fast food restaurant and make a healthier choice, right? Like, there's something on the menu that, not recommending you eat out every day fast food, but what I'm saying is on the days that you do need to go there or you are stopping there with family or friends, there's a healthier option on the menu. You can ask for the nutritional fact sheet. They'll give you that, no problem. You'll know it. And then you can decide what you want to order based on your budget, because you're staying within that budget that we talked about.
So tell us a little bit about what your next venture is, your book. You've lost, over 160 pounds. You did it pretty much on your own without, sounds like a nutritionist, just kind of looked in the mirror and made adjustments. You've been helping people. So tell us a little bit about this workbook. And I'm excited from a nutrition standpoint because I work with people to kind of help them look through the glass to what my lead is saying, the 1800, putting a plan together. What does that plan look like? But my leader did it all by herself, 160 pounds. That's definite foresight. And that's, when I worked for Weight Watchers, I coached people to lose over 150 pounds. Some people put that weight on. So tell us a little bit about this manual that I'm so excited to be able to have in the toolbox to guide and instruct people, because for me as a nutrition coach, there's not one fit for everybody. You have to find what's going to work. You do need, I love the vision boarding. When you look at yourself, you need to look at what's that vision board, drinking the water and doing all those kind of things. So, tell us a little about the book. I love the manual that people who are in the nutrition realm can give people options, because I get people coming to me saying, I'm going to do keto. And I'm like, ooh, I don't know if that's necessarily the right option for you long term. You need to look at that. So give us the book, where we can get a hold of it, when it's going. I know the people on this call are excited for it. I'm excited to have it as a toolbox for my clients to walk them through it, to give them options.
Wonderful. So I'm excited about the book because, as you said, a lot of times we just don't know where to start, how to start, and what that looks like. So in the book, like I said, my reader and who I'm speaking to is more of the experienced diet. They've been there, done that. They probably tried every diet known to man and then some. But this is showing them how they can take the tools that they maybe have done before, tweak it, like as I add just key steps in there. If you're going to start with here, you're going to start there. And then you're going to do this. I'm going to have in there shopping lists, because that's, again, so hard when you say, if I'm going to follow this particular diet or this plan, what do I go buy from the store? I'm going to have in there additional tips on how to eat out successfully, right? Because that's so important. I will also have preparing for the holidays or special occasions, because that can be stressful within itself, but we know they're coming, right? So there's things that we can do prior to that can absolutely help them get on the right path, so that they're not packing on the pounds through those holidays or those special events. I will also give workout tips, and I talk in there the importance of building a support team, right? Because as you mentioned, I was somebody who was able to do it on my own, and I know not everybody's like that. So I will give additional resources in the book on who to reach out to, what type of people they should look for as being a part of their support team. Someone like yourself, who, let's say they have the book and they have the steps and they understand which diet philosophy they're going to follow, and they're like, okay, I'm ready to go, but I need that weekly reinforcement or that bi-weekly reinforcement. And having someone like you is so important, because as you said, you're able to then coach them through that and give them the little tips and the extra little push that some people need as on that journey. Because as you said, you were coaching people losing over 150 pounds. Well, they didn't lose that in 3 months, right? Like that's a journey. Like sometimes that's a year plus for some people. Like for myself, 15 months was a long time to stay motivated, to make the adjustments in my intake. So I think it is important for those who are starting over again, and I would say hit that reset button, that diet reset button. It's okay to hit that. And that's what the book is really helping the experienced dieter with is to hit that reset button, how it looks, and how to utilize the power of mixing multiple diets together to optimize their results in losing weight and keeping it off for life, so that they don't feel limited to only one particular way of eating. Because I think that's what happens when people commit, as you say, like, what if keto's not great for this person long term, and they think, oh, I started keto, now I have to stay on keto. Well, actually you don't. Like there's ways and things that we could do to where you can transition from one particular eating style to another and still be successful. So right now, what I'm doing, I'm finishing up the book. I'm excited to get it out in the next couple of months, especially prior to the holidays coming out, so that we can help as many people possible as we transition into next year. I have my website set up, mylitabutler.com, where they can go
Great.
to for additional tips and tools, recipes, and they also can subscribe, so that way they'll be the first to know about when the book will be released. And if anyone's on this call, and I actually would love to send you, I have a guide that's called 10 Tips to Losing 10 Pounds. I would love to email it to you. So if you're interested, if you could just drop your email in the chat, that would be great. Even those, you know, listening on the replay or what have you, if you're interested, I would love to send that to you via email, as well as, like I said, you can go to our website, mylitabutler.com. I also have my YouTube channel, which I share additional tips and tools and stories of how I got over that hump or fell off the horse, restarted again, and went from there. So definitely excited about that. And as you said, Colleen, I'm super excited about what you're doing as well, because there is such a need out there, which I'm realizing now that I've transitioned to sharing my story, which I'd never envisioned myself doing a few months ago. But here we are, you know, we're trying to reach as many people as we can, because most people will never understand what it feels like to be trapped in your own body. And I think if you have carried a certain amount of weight, as I have, you know the struggle's real, right? Like, you know what it feels like on those days that you don't want to go work out, or that you binge eat and you've been trying to do so good, but you want to start over again, right? Like, you want to hit that reset button. So, but that's what I would say. And I have 3 quick tips I'm going to leave you with. I call my bonus tips on top of the 5 that we talked about, which is so helpful. Number 1 is to fix your food on a smaller plate. Like, no longer pick those big plates like a regular size dinner plate. Go with the lunch size or even the salad plate, because less will look like more, because we're getting our portions under control, right? So no more on a regular size plate. Fix your food on a smaller plate. And 3 times a week, if you could do this, you'll definitely see the weight come off faster, is if you swap your dinner for lunch. So you put your dinner at lunchtime, and then for dinner, you actually have a liquid dinner. So whether that's a smoothie, which I love, I'm smoothie queen. I have recipes on my website for smoothies, but 3 times a week, if you could put your dinner at lunch, and for dinner, you actually have a liquid dinner, that would be great. And then the last tip is, and I don't know about anybody else, but I used to be a speed eater when I was 300 pounds, right?
Yeah.
And the key to losing weight is slowing down, because the feeling of full takes 20 minutes from the first bite. Let me say that again. The feeling of full takes 20 minutes from the first bite. And for me, I could murder so much food in 5 minutes, let alone 20 minutes. So, you know, learning to enjoy the meal, like I put my fork down after each bite before I pick it back up. I make sure I chew it completely. I drink my water in between some of those bites, and I really try to enjoy the meal instead of just inhaling something like I used to. So, but those are my last 3 key tips. I know we've spent time with everyone, and I thank them for spending time with us as we've been on here, but I wanted to just share my story, wanted to talk about how great what Colleen is doing with being that additional support system that more and more people may need to turn to on this time around, right? And we're going to make this time around different.
Yeah, and I'm so glad everyone joined. What I do is I bring people like Mylita on, and if, you know, try to help people get that formula to freedom. And what I mean is freedom is freeing yourself from that inner fat girl. You know, I had that inner fat girl. I've lost over 65 pounds and kept it off for 21 years. And I coach and I guide people on the right particular journey with more whole food eating and living clean. And I'm starting a, 4-week course on Renew, Revive, Restart. So it's looking at detoxing and things like that. But Mylita and I like to bring people that know the struggles. You know, we talk about vision boarding. We talk about finding that right person in your toolbox that understands who you are, because it's not just one simple diet plan. You know, they all work. It's finding a team of people that can help you. So, Mylita, just say again how they can locate you. And I did get people's emails. I wrote them down so you can email them. I'll share that with you. How can they get in touch with you and that? And then I'll give them my information as well.
So my website is mylitabutler.com. On Instagram, I am Mylita Butler. And I have my Facebook as well, which is Myleta Butler. So I can
Great.
and my YouTube, especially Myleta Butler also. So everything is Myleta Butler somewhere in there of how they can find me.
Excellent. And my name of my company is Sustainawell, Eat Well, Live Well, Sustainawell. And you can find me on Facebook at Sustainawell, and Instagram, Sustainawell_1. And it's www.sustainawell.com. So I try to bring these Formula of Freedom, bring people on. So if you have a story and you want to share that story, I'd love to learn about that. You can also email me at www.planforhealthylife@gmail.com. And I'm so grateful for Myleta and all of you lovely ladies and gentlemen that joined us tonight. Reach out. I hope you got a couple of tips and ideas to get you started on that health journey. One tip. So thanks so much for joining us today. Next month, I'm going to be bringing on an energy healer. Roman's going to be talking about energy healing and medicine and food. So hopefully you'll be able to join us for that as well. And there's some great information. So everybody have a great night, and thanks so much for joining us. Take care. Thanks,
Thank you.
Myleta, so much for your time. Bye
Thanks,
now.
Colleen. Thank you. You take care.